For the second time in just 3 weeks, we get round 2 of Giants and Eagles, this time in Philadelphia. Welcome back to the BetCanada channel. I'm Katie Caldwell, back with my friend Jeff Lloyd. Jeff, a total shocker the last time these two teams met. What are we expecting to see in this one?
Well, you have the Philadelphia Eagles who, certainly, I would say Sunday in Minnesota things probably looked the best they are. And if you just go through social media, all of a sudden things are quiet in regards to the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's see, 1 week of everybody getting fed, everything going right.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the GoFundMe for God forbid for the Philadelphia Eagles seems to be setting to the side. Um, this is a tough spot for the Giants.
Mhm.
You obviously come off a devastating loss. There's just no way. I mean, you gave up 33 points in the final quarter. And good thing to know that they, released the kicker who was responsible for all the points the Giants defense gave up in that fourth quarter. God forbid they were able to
Mhm.
move on from that player who really, really affected that game defensively. But so you've already got the mark. So you're mentally kind of beat right now if you're the Giants because you were about to pull off an upset that nobody saw coming against one of the better defenses in the entire NFL right now. Now, and not only you're going to Philly, and you're going to Philly after you basically kind of humiliated them in front of a national audience on Thursday Night Football.
Sure
This is a
did.
really, really bad recipe for the New York Giants. Now, some things obviously for the New York Giants. Look, Jackson Dart, Cam Scadaboo, these guys look like they're going to be legit players for that franchise for the foreseeable future.
Mhm.
And so a lot of what goes on this season for the New York Giants is certainly about the growth of both of those guys. So even the way it kept going last week, and to their credit, the Giants offense kind of kept, once Denver scored, Giants kept kind of go. I mean, those numbers kept going up for both teams in that fourth quarter.
They
But
did.
this is definitely, one where, you're marked coming into this game if you're the Giants.
Mhm.
And Philadelphia Eagles, their defense, and we've talked about it. There's a lot of new pieces, and it was going to take some time for it all to round into form. And now we get to create a game plan, having seen Jackson Dart, not watching a brief
Mm.
amount of Jackson Dart playing somebody else. And, so Jackson Dart either responds within the game or it, walks away with another loss and it becomes yet another way of a learning lesson of what is the overall building block of Jackson Dart down the, within the future, which certainly looks good. But, for the Giants, this is a really tough spot. I mean, because you go to Denver, you lose a game you should have won. And your reward is you get to go home and face for a brief bit. And then you get to go to Philadelphia, face a team that's really aggravated with you.
Devontae Smith and AJ Brown finally had a field day last week. Do you expect the Eagles to lean heavily on the pass again, or is this a chance to reestablish more of a balanced offense that we still haven't quite seen consistently?
I would say, from the results and, with Jalen Hurts and, near perfection against the Minnesota Vikings,
Mhm.
you can figure out how Saquon is going to get his eventually. If this is the year where maybe we're going to throw it a little bit more than we anticipated, and this has always been questions, and I think this has kind of been some of Vontae Smith's and AJ Brown's frustrations over the last 2 years. It's not a knock on Saquon. It's not a knock on anything else, but it's like we think we're as good as what we do as maybe Saquon Barkley is what he does. So,
Yeah.
why is it always about you running the ball a little bit more? And you want to know what? We're the better team. The game plan should be go run up 28, 31,
Mhm.
34 points. And then the defense gets to go have their fun and attack the quarterback and hopefully just get a lot of interceptions. And instead of throwing the ball late into the third quarter and the fourth quarter, that's usually when you go ahead and start milking the clock and you run the ball with a guy like Saquon Barkley. But as hot as the passing game was on Sunday for the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't understand why I would, just say, "Oh, well, let's emergency break it and see." I don't
Yeah.
think anyone's that concerned that Saquon will eventually get where he needs to be. And the last thing I would want to do is disrupt any momentum that the Philadelphia Eagles had throwing the ball.
Mhm. If the Giants are in this one, what does that look like? Does it look like the same as last time where we see a really big Cam Scadaboo game? Because you've got to think they're scheming differently for him and Jackson Dart this time. How do you see the Giants being in this one?
Well, there is obviously a difference between this for the Giants and Jackson Dart than when they were playing Philadelphia the first time. The Giants weren't really, I mean, Jackson Dart was out there starting, but
Mhm.
certainly felt like he still kind of had the training wheels on in regards to the passing game. Running by all means, they let Jack, yeah, hey, they, enjoy it while you can. And being that young, Jackson Dart, the legs will eventually get a little bit heavier, and you ain't gonna be running
Yeah.
around like you are right now. But the thing is, since then, the Giants have kind of opened things up and, let Jackson Dart actually work the ball down the field a little bit more, which is something they certainly weren't doing against Philly, almost to the point where it really kind of got into Philadelphia's head where you're running regular coverage. And at some point, you got to say, well, they're not throwing the ball more than 6 yards down the field. Why do I have a safety 18 to 20 yards back? Make them show you they're going to do it first.
Mm,
So that is probably, going to be something that will be different for the Giants going into this. Is you just got to let Jackson Dart play a little bit more openly, a little bit more freely. Wandell Robinson is a nice weapon for him and works between the hash marks really well. Theo Johnson's a good tight end. LaJordan Humphrey, who actually was kind of integral in that Eagle game the first time around,
yeah, he was.
he's
Yep.
tough. He's tough because you can't cover 6'5". You know what I'm saying? I'm 6'5", your D-backs are 6'2", 6'3". I throw the ball at the appropriate point. My 6'5" guy should beat your 6'3" guy 9 times out of 10. I mean, it's just the way things work.
Mhm.
So, that is certainly gonna be the difference for the Giants in this aspect is that, I think they have a little more faith and a little more belief that Jackson Dart is starting to develop more into basically the guy that can kinda handle a little bit of everything, and getting the ball down the field, certainly should open up the running lanes. And, it won't be a short week this week for Philadelphia where, Cam
Right.
Scadaboo's punishing style can probably be a real pain in the ass if you're playing him on a Thursday night. The bumps and the bruises, they haven't healed yet when you go back out and play Thursday night. And when
No.
you get a guy who's just, basically will run into a brick wall because he just kind of thinks it's fun. That's the way Cam Scadaboo is wired. But now you're a little bit more rested and, I don't think you're gonna be running in a Jalen Carter on full rest, who did not play that night as well, which is a big, big difference
Right.
into this game. So, let's see, we're gonna try that against, somebody who is just as much a freak of a nature, but unfortunately 6'5" and 340 pounds.
Quick pause. If you haven't subscribed to the BetCanada YouTube channel, you can do so below. It's free and it helps support our channel so we can keep bringing you NFL and NHL content. Now, back to the show. So in this situation, the Giants, they have nothing to lose. They're playing with house money. The Eagles have everything to protect. How does that make a difference in terms of pressure in this game? Especially because the Giants won that one and it wasn't didn't even come down to a last minute freak play. They won that one pretty
Oh,
handedly.
yeah.
How does pressure come in? Because, man, the Eagles don't want to go to 0-2 against the Giants.
I still think it's gonna reside with the Giants. Look, the NFC East, as much as it was starting to feel like, "Hey, there's an opportunity for Philly to get got here."
Hmm.
Dallas just does not play consistent enough defense. Washington, Jaden Daniels is not going to play again this week. So guess what? I doubt Terry McLaurin's really rushing back to go play with Marcus Mariota. I doubt Debo Samuel is running, and they are playing the Chiefs. So I think as much as it felt like there was an opportunity for other teams in the NFC East, it feels like, those brief chances of hope and a flicker of light for anybody else other than Philly is kind of waning, and it's kind of waning really quick. So, the
Mm.
pressure I think is on the Giants because if the Giants you win, you're still kind of relevant. You don't, then this year maybe is over, other than really trying to find out what the potential and just how good a guy like Jackson Dart can be.
That's an interesting way of articulating it. I hadn't thought of it that way. What is your score prediction in this one? I have the Eagles, but I don't know by how many. I feel like the Giants will keep it spicy again.
I don't know if I see it this time. And maybe and that was the thing, because it, like, say they stole it. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? A fluke fumble, 55-yard field goal, and the Giants ran out of the building. Oh my God, the Eagles lost by one, and a whole bunch of guys looking around like, just what happened? No, you beat them. And I really think Philadelphia is probably looking to send a message, to the, young Old Miss player for the New York Giants, who's only about 1 hour away from where they are. And I think this one, in my opinion, I think this is going to tend to kind of get a little bit ugly, and we don't get a lot of ugliness in relation to scores in the NFL. But if you told me Philly walks out of this winning by 17, if not a little bit more, I really think, because I think the passing game is starting to hit their stride. The defense will be not surprised by anything really that Jackson Dart is gonna bring to the table. Bad scenario, and just it's gonna be another probably bad Sunday altogether for the New York Giants.